Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Interviews with Experts. And today I'm joined by the wonderful Derrick Mason. Derrick is one of the structural engineers who worked on the construction of the 2012 Olympic Stadium. He's the founder of a structural engineering firm, Superstructure Associates. He's the best-selling author of the book Will It Stand Up? He makes appearances on Sky News and the BBC, and Derrick is here today to talk to us about how he uses content to differentiate himself and his business from the competition, and he does it very, very well indeed. Derrick, thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure, Georgia. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Let's dive straight in. Can you tell us a bit about what made you want to, write a book in terms of your industry? Structural engineering, it's unusual to see firms leveraging content in such a modern way. What inspired you?
Yes, as a structural engineer, I'm basically a numbers person, not a wordsmith. So yes, writing a book is unusual. But I did a business accelerator, and part of the requirements of doing that was you had to publish a book. And from a very young age, I've had a very strong mindset, and I've always set myself very ambitious and large goals. And obviously writing a book was one of them. Particularly as being an engineer, writing words is not necessarily my strong point, it's more numbers. But they had a process that guided you through the writing of the book, and I'd followed that and religiously did it. And within a year, I'd written and published the book, and it became an Amazon #1 bestseller in its category.
That's fantastic. What a result. And so did you ever have any concerns around, it's not really it's not for an engineer to do, or it's not something that would go down well in my line of work, anything like that?
No, I use it as a differentiator because it's a way of showing my expertise, and it's a way of positioning myself as an expert in my industry. And we found that our clients are actually very impressed when they hear that I've published a book, because it sets me above my competitors. It helps with my authority, and we've won many large projects just on the fact that I am a published author. I give copies of my book. I actually give more copies of my book away than I sell. But I'm not going to get rich as a published author. It's really there to help me win more of our ideal kind of clients and projects. And we found that the book, together with the blogs we also publish blogs every 2 weeks, which again is unusual as structural engineers. But we've got well over 100 blogs on our website now, and it just maintains our contact with our clients, and it keeps the interest there.
Yeah, it's a fantastic point, because as you say, that's it. It's a differentiator, and it has given you a lot of authority in your field. Can you tell us about some of the kind of rewards and returns you've experienced as a result of authoring content?
Yeah, I mean, as a business, we've won about 7 Richmond Business Awards, which puts us again as a big differentiator. And again, we obviously publish blogs and that about these awards. It's just a way of differentiating yourself. And with the book together, the return on investment has been phenomenal. We've won projects, in good 6-figure sums, as a result of the book. It's always difficult to pinpoint exactly which ones you got because of the book or blogs or contacts or that. But, I could pinpoint at least 4 or 5 big projects that we've won with fees of over, several £100,000 as a result of the book, because it differentiated us from our competitors. The clients were convinced that we were the right engineers for the project and for their team. And, that's why it's a good payoff.
Yeah, it's a really good point, because like you say, it's difficult to track specific metrics in terms of what's a direct result of the book or what's directly came from the blog. But actually, there still aren't a lot of metrics you can track there. But ultimately what you're saying is it all comes together when it's consistent and regular output. It's not just a one-off, but it's something that you committed to doing. It seems that it's really helped people to build relationships with you offline, online, anywhere really, and you haven't had to spend that kind of, it's a time effective way of doing it, isn't it? One to many rather than one to one.
It is, you see, and the good thing about a book is it works for you 24/7, even throughout the world. People have bought the book in America, Australia, New Zealand, in Europe, etc. And it's, I did a webinar in June this year during lockdown on the book. It was a 2-hour webinar to 153 international participants. And, the interest was phenomenal, and, again, because it was different. Here's a structural engineer that's published a book, best-selling author, and he's willing to, explain it, to an audience and take them through the 7 essential principles, because while it's a book about the Olympic Stadium, I wrote it in sort of clear English that a non-engineer could understand, and a lot of the reviews we've got and feedback we've had is that we've achieved that, which is sometimes quite difficult when you take a very technical subject such as Olympic Stadium. But the thing through the book is it lists the 7 essential principles to running a successful project. And that was my idea of imparting my knowledge of over 35 years experience in the industry to help people learn how to run their projects better. So they get value from the book as well as, reading it to understand about the Olympic Stadium itself.
So that's a good point. So they get many different things from the experience of picking up the book and reading. How did you make it work so well for you then? So you put this book together, like we've said, it's quite unusual. It's a very, very impressive project to have in your CV, so to speak. So, how did you sort of position it in a way that it got into the hands of the right people and the right number of people?
Yes, well, you see, obviously, I wrote it with the idea that my audience, you'll be the first person to tell people when you write a book, you've got to have your target audience in mind. So you've got to focus on them and what do they want from the book. And I had them in mind, and my target audience was really architects, contractors, project developers, and people in the construction industry. And that's why the 7 principles are so important to them, because they can all take it and use it in their own division of the construction industry. And, I like to think that I've contributed to try and help some people, advance their careers and make it, more successful in their careers, enjoy their careers more because they know more what they're doing and they're getting positive results.
Yeah, that's interesting. And so for you, is it kind of a key driver and something that kind of directed your promotional activity? Sounds like it was kind of focusing on others, helping others.
Well, I do. I mean, that's one of the things I do love about my industry is that, I've accumulated a lot of knowledge, and sometimes you don't know what you know until someone points out, oh, that's very interesting, that I didn't think of something like that. And I love teaching what I know and, helping others. And, we take on young graduate engineers and I train them up in the business of construction and that, and, that's how they develop and learn. And some people have left our company, like people do, and they've gone on to be successful elsewhere. And I like to think that part of that is down to the way we've trained them and brought them up and, infused them about engineering and construction.
Yeah, I love that. What's your sort of approach to your marketing output then as a company? Do you find that you have people different age groups, different points in their lives, different experience levels? Do you find that the marketing effort is a team effort? Does everybody do something in their own way, or is it kind of like you have a person that you give that sort of stuff to?
I like approaching things from a completely different aspect often, because that's what makes you stand out. I like looking at other industries, learning from them, the lessons that they've learned or how they've applied certain things, and then turning it around and saying, well, how could I apply that to my business, to my industry? How would that make us stand out? And our marketing, while a lot of it's digital, we still use the good old-fashioned postage, because direct mail is a good way of attracting attention, because, to be quite honest, everyone's online. Not too many people are using the postman. So therefore, as long as you dress up your marketing attractively and it stands out, it lands on their doormat, they're more likely to open that than an email. So, it's all about using all aspects of marketing. It's not just digital. It's not just, the book, whatever. It's all together. It all works together as a cohesive unit. I think that's what's important. A lot of people will just focus on Facebook or Facebook ads or Google ads or something like that. Whereas I like to have lots of pillars to my marketing strategy, because if one's not working, hopefully another one is, because, there's a good old saying, 50% of your marketing works, but often you don't know which. So you've got to try lots of different aspects of marketing and put it together and, obviously track it as best you can. You can use tracking numbers and other sort of clever ways of doing it. But at the end of the day, it's the results that speak for themselves. Yeah,
it's such a good point. So much of marketing is trial and error, and then learning from that and trying again and split testing. And very good point. And when it comes to this postage, then I love this idea. As a writer, there's a part of me that, misses like handwriting everything. And then the other part of me, obviously, the thought of handwriting the amount of books that we write every year is sheer hell. So don't get me wrong, I'm grateful for technology, and certainly in my business, which I think I incorporate technology and AI through the kind of storytelling and writing processes. This idea of this postage then as marketing, and it's that sort of, it's the whole thing of just that real human connection, isn't it?
Yes, I think it's a personal touch. I mean, what I do with my books when I send them out to people, I always handwrite a personal message in the front of it, with their name, etc., etc. I hope you enjoy the book. I hope you learn something from it. Please send me some feedback, and wish them your best regards, because that way it's very personal. I think the more personal your marketing is, the more chance it has of being successful, because people like to be made feel important and that they matter. And that's the way to direct it, I think, because if you're just very bland and the same to everyone, well, you're not going to hit your target market.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. And I think what's tricky these days is that there's so much scope for scale that it's how to keep that human element, isn't there, in the event of contacting hundreds and thousands of people in one go. What sort of things do you put in the post to your audience?
Well, I mean, like when I write in the book, obviously I'm sending the book to a particular person for a particular reason. And, it's just about remembering little personal things about them, whether they got 2 kids, etc., or whatever. Or if you doing discussions with them, you found that they actually did go to the Olympic Stadium, and they say, well, hopefully this book will take you back to the wonderful experience you had during the summer of 2012. And it's people won't remember what you say. They'll remember how you made them feel. And I think that's the sort of real nub and the essence of marketing is really to sort of pull the heartstrings, so to speak, get the emotions going, because that way you've got much more chance of success for them.
Yeah, it's so true. That's it, isn't it? Like reminding people of how they felt during that summer, rather than simply talking about the engineering processes around your work in that summer. So it's also a matter of stepping outside of yourself as the author, right? And kind of speaking to people in terms of what they prioritize.
Yeah, it is. It's, stepping outside your comfort zone. I mean, I'm not a natural speaker, etc., but I do the things I need to do to make my business successful and to obviously advance us. And, it's really about making people feel special and that, that you value their opinions and everything. It's the whole package, it's not just, I want business. It's really that, you want to make sure you're the right fit for them, because at the end of the day, people buy from people, and it's as much as technology and digital things, help with the whole process. At the end of the day, it's one person dealing with another. And I think it's how you make them feel, make them feel comfortable. And so we've got a little rule. The only silly question is one you don't ask, because I like it when people ask me questions. It shows they're interested, they want to learn more, and I love teaching people. So, it's about getting that relationship going, because, it's about being in for the long term, as far as I'm concerned, not a quick win. And, by doing the right kind of marketing and using all the collateral we've got, the book and the other books that I told you about, and the blogs, the information, the history. If you look at our website, it talks about the history, how we started Superstructure Associates. I started it in my summer house at the end of my garden, and it's got a picture of the summer house there. So it just sort of takes people along that journey. I think people are much more interested nowadays in learning the personal story. In my book, I talk about my strong mindset. When I was a 13-year-old, I was told to forget about becoming a middle distance runner. The coach thought I was just wasting his time. And I just took the opinion, well, I will show him. And within 2 years, I held every school record in middle distances for my age group. And I repeated again 2 years later. And then I carried on with my running. And eventually, I've done over 100 marathons. I've done 13 35-mile ultra marathons. And that's all from a guy that was told he'd never be a runner. So, it shows you, I've got a saying, mind over matter. If you don't mind, it doesn't matter. Don't let people tell you what you can and can't do in your life. Set your goals and then work out how you can achieve them, because I believe the power of the mind, we don't use a fraction of what we could. And I think, if you're really determined to be successful, and, if your objective is write a book, we'll go out and do it. People should contact people like you that can help them along that way. There's ways of doing things. There's a hard way and there's the easier way. And, using people like you with your system and processes and things and similar to the process I used, you can be successful. You can get that think, because I don't know if statistics have changed, but I was told when I wrote my book, something like only 2% of people actually write that book that they want to. A lot of people think about it, talk about it, but actually only about 2% or so actually get out and do it. So I think more people need to sort of set their goals and, do whatever it needs to achieve them.
Yeah, thank you for saying that as well. It's such an important message. This is it. Like, writing a book used to be this thing that was almost reserved or confined to some kind of elite. They're still exclusive. They're still really powerful. They're still unique. The thing with the book is you can't really bullshit your way through it, right? Like, if somebody doesn't really have much to say for themselves, then it'd be very hard to fill 100, 200, 250 pages. So by the very nature of authoring a book, you know that you're someone who's got an important message to share. You want to help other people. You've got some stories to tell and some wisdom to impart. But like you say, I think I experienced it too, where people perceive the barriers and they stop there. And, actually there's loads of different ways, now, as you pointed out, you can have a book without even writing it. You can be an author without being a writer. Maybe in another few decades time, you'll have a book that you can sort of think without really having to engage.
That could be quite dangerous, I think, but yes.
Good. Then we definitely need some regulation. But you're absolutely right. The point is it's too important not to do. And I think in terms of those stats, I think it might be even slightly lower now in terms of the percentage of people who, I recently looked this up myself, and it was just under 1%. And I think the amount of people is growing, but also the use of the internet's growing, and people are sharing content in other ways. And what do you think for me, it's like this big thing of, okay, a social media post is going to stay at the top of a content feed for less than 2 seconds. That doesn't have longevity. It'll capture people's interest. It'll help you stay visible. What are your thoughts on the sorts of marketing that people need to be doing now with COVID, with the lockdown, lack of face-to-face contact? Do you think it's fine to just exist online, or do you think people need to start exploring more heavyweight types of marketing?
Well, I think, again, it's a combination of things, but I think, everything is going towards digital. You need to really develop this digital collateral, and obviously a book can be, obviously, a lot of people like myself still prefer hard copy books. But you've got the Kindles and all that, and it's all digital. And people to really know, like, and trust you, they've got to meet you in sort of 7 different locations according to the thing, and, spend at least 8 hours with you. And, if they read a book, that's 4 to 5 hours already of that 8 hours. Yes. Blogs, you can get a few more hours, and obviously the more popular thing now, obviously video. So things have to go more and more on video. And the more digital collateral you can get out there, the more people will take notice of you and be able to contact you, because everyone consumes knowledge in different ways. Some people like to read it, some people like to view it as in video, some people like to listen to it as in music or podcasts. So, you need to really have all these different avenues to attract different people. And I think if someone like me as an engineer who's a numbers person can actually go out and write and produce a best-selling book, I think anyone can. You just got to want it enough. I got up early and I was in the office at 7:30 every morning, and I wrote till 9:30 every morning, 5 days a week for 3 months. And I got the book done and out. If I can do that and someone else wants it badly enough, they can too. They just need to want it badly enough.
Yeah, I completely agree. Thank you. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure. The conversation's gone so quickly. Where can people find your book and find out more about you as well, Derrick?
Well, the book, obviously, you can find on Amazon. Just type in "Will It Stand Up?" ? And it'll pop up. It's got a blue cover. I can sort of show you there. That's what it looks like. And then if you want to contact me by email, it's derrick.mason, which is DEREK.MASON @SSACELTD.co.uk. Or if you want to look at the website, that is www.superstructuresassociates.co.uk. And, I'm welcome to hear comments from anybody.
That's wonderful, and I advise anybody who's kind of wanting to hear a bit more about the points Derrick has made to get in touch. He's a fascinating guy, and I can vouch firsthand. Always willing to help, and always has some real gems to share as well. Derrick, thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure.
Well, thank you very much, Georgia. Good luck. Thank you.